Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining the To Hell and Back podcast sponsored by 6 Yards Out and Old Zoological Bar. I am your host, Nathaniel Whitto, and I'm joined by Will and Ant. And Ant, you're smiling. Explain yourself.
You went on mute for the video, so I could hear you breathing.
Well, I was thinking that maybe people did hear me breathe, so I'm sorry about that.
But, it was a loud sigh midway through.
It was just clearing my throat because I'm preparing, because I'm very professional. So, the first thing I've got written down here is Gavin Ward. So shall we start with a 10-minute rant from Will?
No, because we needed to keep clean and I can't swear. Stop doing that.
Well, how else are we going to fill the time? Because that's the only thing I've got written down. I was just relying on you.
I feel bad because I don't want to have a go at referees, but he's just not very good, is he?
He's not very good. He's really not very good, is he? I'm not sure whether this one was quite as aggravating as the home game, which I went to, because that was really terrible.
No, it wasn't.
There were a few penalty shouts, maybe for handball, that we could have got. I think people were talking about that after the game, but it wasn't quite as bad. It's just really unpleasant that another whole game with Gavin Ward as the referee. How on earth they decided it would be a good idea to have the referee with maybe the worst performance of the season in that first game and then give him the return fixture. Perry Sports, sorry. Dodgy. Yeah, it's a bit dodgy.
Very dodgy.
Yeah, Perry's gone a bit early and saying, I can't see it personally, but we'll be incredibly close. I don't know whether he's talking about the intro or the Rotherham game that we're looking ahead to. And Kirst says, hey, guys, which is very nice. So I guess there were some positives from the game. Slater scored, that sort of thing. So, Ant, give us your general thoughts on an away draw against Reading, but perhaps one we would have liked to have won.
It was a frustrating one. More so because the performance against Burnley was so promising that if we'd even played to 60-70% of what we did against them, we would have beaten Reading 2 or 3-0. It's just another case of the fact that we always tend to play better against the sides we expect to lose to, and then the games where we should be trying to be on the front foot and winning, we just can't seem to take the impetus and control the game. And I just think that it was one of those it was really it was a dull game, I thought. First half, I thought we were probably the better side and deserved to be 1-0 up. And then the second half, we just allowed ourselves to get into, a bit of a physical battle. And then, I want to mistake, a bit of a mishap at the back, and the ball drops to Carroll, of all people, to smash into the back of the net. It was frustrating more than anything because I don't think they actually had any chances other than the one that they scored. But I also don't think we had that many chances. It's just, it was a very end of season game. You could tell there was nothing on the line.
It felt like two teams that were on the beach. Obviously, at the time of the game, Reading may have been on the beach, but they're probably not anymore. Now they're going to get a 6-point deduction.
That feels like Reading have had a 6-point deduction every year for the last decade, though. But they probably deserve it. The ownership there's pretty terrible, and
they deserve it just for having Tom Ince.
Oh yeah, and they deserve it for just having Poland's as well. And I think they deserve it because they've taken 4 points off us when we've outplayed them pretty much, or had so much possession against them in the 2 games, and we've not been able to beat them, which is frustrating. So hopefully, if they go down, they're not going to have to play them again. But yeah, I'd written in the notes, are we on the beach? You've both said we are. That's a little bit worrying considering that there were 9 games left, at the start of the Reading game. So, what are our expectations for the rest of the season? Do you think we can sort of get off the beach and finish the season strongly? Because I think that's quite important for Rosenia and a few players that maybe haven't been in the team but still have a chance to get into that and have a positive summer, perhaps. What do you think, Ant?
I don't. The thing is like, yes, there's 9 games left to play, but realistically, are we going to lose? I would assume you'd have to lose 8 or 9 of those at least to be dragged into it for the final couple of games. I don't think we're going to do that. We've only lost 5 times. Is it 5 times since Rosenia's taken over, and that was in November. Yes, we don't tend to be, scoring lots of goals or winning games at the minute. But we've turned what would normally be losses under Shota into draws under Rossi. That lack of ruthlessness in the final third, that bit of, composure, creativity in the final third. We've just been missing it all season. And, you can probably put it down to the fact that we've had such a horrid time with injuries. There's been no consistency. Players get momentum and then they get injured again and they're back out the squad. We're missing people like Connolly and Tete that offered us so much promise in that attacking sense. And it's you can imagine how frustrated Rosina is, how frustrated, the players are themselves in the changing rooms.
Oh, yeah.
I just think that, barring an absolute Grant McCann-esque capitulation, we're not going to get dragged into that bottom three fight, and we're not going to go into the top six fight. We're just
fine.
The fact that the league's so close this season and we're sat in 15th, like 15th is pretty much the mid-table this season. So yeah, I just think the sides below us, they haven't got enough in them to catch us. I think most of them actually play each other quite a few times as well, so there's no real chance for them to make up enough ground. And like I say, I can't see us losing the amount of games needed to be dragged into that.
Yeah, it's just, I think because of the money, and I think we might talk a little bit about the money we've spent later on as well. It's a bit of a shame if we do finish perhaps bottom half with definitely maybe even a top six budget. But I think the main thing this season was to consolidate. And Gabe Sutton asked me about it yesterday. What's City's target for this season? Really, if we finish with more points or significantly more points than we did last year, that's an improvement, even if we don't finish top half or in the playoffs. So I think, we had 51 last year, so we're on 47 now. I think we'll definitely get past 51.
I'll be surprised if we don't break that.
Well, yeah, I think perhaps we'll get up to 50, although maybe I've jinxed it on Saturday, and then it's another 7 games after that. So I think main thing is just to consolidate. And which players in the City squad at the moment do we think really need to have a good last 8 games of the season so that they're sort of in the thinking for the summer? Of course, one is probably, even though I don't want to say it, it's probably Ryan Longman, because his performances statistically, even though I disagree with the statistics, haven't been ideal. I guess he's one player, but there's probably a few others. Maybe Ryan Woods. He's been injured, but has he been? Is he going to play over Seri or? And I guess maybe Aliar. I know he's been. A lot of these players I'm mentioning will have been injured, but who else would you put in that category?
See, this is the thing, because as you say, a lot of them have been injured, so they've not had a lot of game time to sort of show themselves. And I think it's weird. It's been a weird season. I think you can almost write off the first half in a way, because it was just a disaster, really. I think it's a boring answer, but I think all of them have got to, because every player should not think their place is assured in the team, apart from maybe Seri. So
but why Seri though? What if he has 8 awful games?
I don't care. He's Jean-Michel Seri. He's amazing.
Yeah, he is amazing. But I think there are a few other players that perhaps
there's plenty of players who can justify being regular starters and not having to worry about where they are next season. But I think that's just being you're taking your eye off the ball if you do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I get where it's coming from. I agree with Will, because realistically, you've got a squad of players, barring 3 or 4 that Rossi brought in January, that weren't his squad, that obviously aren't up to the fitness levels that he wants, may not be as good on the ball in possession as he wants, may not be as willing to press high as that he wants. This is now players' chances to. They've now got to prove whether or not they can be a part of this system next season. Every single one of those players needs to be playing for a place in the squad next year, because you don't know what's going to happen in summer. None of us know what's going to happen in summer. We don't know if it's 3 or 4 of them could leave and then 3 or 4 be brought in. Loan signings might be brought in permanently. So you've got a lot of players that are playing for the futures at the club, and you've got a lot of players that might find themselves on the fringes next season that won't want to be on the fringes, and they want to think they'll be starters elsewhere and maybe looking to move on in summer and trying to find out where their future lies. So you're looking at players like Aliar that's come with such promise, and we know how good he can be, and he's had a torrid time with injuries since coming to us. So you'd like to see him have a nice consistent run now from the end of the season to really show us what he can do, like he did it towards the end of last year. You've got Regan Slater that I would like to see played a bit more in the middle now towards the end of the season, where he tends to pick up his goals. Tufan, got a point to prove. Can he work hard for 90 minutes every game? You've got Louis Coyle, who's got, Cyrus Christie to come back. Can he, force the issue and say, well, I deserve to be starting as well? Callum Elder. You got, it's a huge summer coming up. So these last few games, they can't really afford to be on the beach, because I don't think Rosini is the kind of guy who will hold on to them just because he likes them. They've got to fit his plan and his system. And, Acyn, like you say, has invested a lot in the team this season. Will probably invest again in summer. And the realistic aim next year will, I would imagine, be top half at least as a bare minimum. So you've got to have players here that are ready to improve and adapt in that sense.
Yeah, I think it's probably the loan players. So, and of course, they need to play, because if they don't play well, there's no way we're going to be signing them in the summer. I think Ebbie Way, we've started to see the best of him. Played really well against Burnley, and then Reading was also pretty solid. And then, of course, Connolly, we all like the look of him, but it's just been unfortunate that he's injured. I think he's back on. I think
Connolly will be with us next season.
Yeah, I hope so, because, he's only played like really 4 games. I was at 4 or 5 games until he got injured, and hopefully he isn't another one of those players that is always on the fitness table, injury table, is it? Operation table maybe. So hopefully he can start playing. I think he's back for the Sunderland game after Rotherham, and then Darlow's been doing pretty solidly. I know Ingram's back in contention, but pretty sure Darlow will start again, and then maybe Elder and Kyle, because I know they're 2 of the longest serving players. Elder's definitely a longest serving player. I know with Greaves, who's been pretty good at left back as well recently. I guess if Elder can stick in the team, because didn't he play against Reading, who he's been in and out of the team? The
thing for Elder as well is his contract is up at the end of the year, at the end of the season, I believe, or it's up so he's looking to get a new contract if he's going to stay as well.
Yeah. Well, because we've used the extension on his contract, right? So it would have to be a whole new one.
Yeah.
Because I assume this is his 4th year, so that must have been the 4th year extension. But I think he's done relatively well. Gabe, again, was asking me about Jacob Greaves and his evaluation. And I was sort of saying that perhaps it's not going to be as high as a Bowen or a Potter, because Elder's been playing well at left back, and he's not been the first player on the team sheet like those other 2 players were. So I guess I'd ask you two, how do you value Greaves with how he's been playing this season at left back, and whether Elder's worth sticking around because of how well they've competed?
He's easily our most valuable player, I think. Obviously, that's just taking into account his age, nationality. You always get English tax on him. Local lad up through the youth academy. He's going to be the next one. Obviously, with our new model of bringing players through and then selling them on for bigger fees, he will. I fully expect him to go in summer. I just think it makes sense. I think he has been a victim of the fact that obviously we lost the 3 at the back system. If we had the 3 at the back again, he'd obviously be on the left hand side with Maka, just like it was last season. But the form of McLaughlin and Jones since he was brought back into the team, Maka, he's kept him out. It was unfortunate timing for his injury as well, which allowed Elder back into the side. So, just because he's out the squad doesn't mean he's a bad player. It just means that the form of the players in the squad are keeping him out. But in summer, he's going to obviously, if he gets some proper interest and a decent bid in summer, probably I would say around the 10 million mark, just below, just over kind of thing, he would go. And I think it makes sense for him to go. Like we say, we've got an able-bodied replacement in Maka. And that money would, being reinvested in the team for probably, I would imagine, the attacking side of things that we probably need to improve on, as well as finding a left back and then another understudy centre back to go behind Maka and Jones, because I can't see Fig staying either.
Yeah, would you agree with that, Will?
Pretty much, yeah. I will say though that I think Greaves, he can't accept anything less than about 150 million.
I think that's a bit of hyperbole, perhaps. Because I
do think he's going to go in the summer as well, as much as I love him, and I won't be surprised if the team that came in for him in the last summer, Middlesbrough, hopefully when they get to the Premier League ahead of Sheffield United. I won't be surprised if they wanted to come back in and try and get him, because they'll probably be able to get him for cheaper than what they offered him before, to be honest.
Yeah, because it's not been the best season for him, and he's been playing out of position. But I mean, I guess he's done pretty well, but he's a year older. And I think, if we do get, maybe 10, 15 million around there, maybe ever so slightly less than Lewis Potter because he's not an attacking player. If we can use that on, reinvest that in the team. And we've already got a solid centre-half replacement in McLaughlin. I guess it would be more that left back that we could go and get, and and perhaps an improvement on Elder. That wouldn't be that bad. I mean, I've said it so many times because I think this year that losing Greaves wouldn't be anywhere near as bad as Bowen or Lewis Potter. So I think, again, we're going to get onto the financial side of it, but perhaps selling him wouldn't be that bad. So I guess the last thing that I was thinking about after the Reading game was 147 points. I said I'm happy just to get like 5 more to get more than last season. There's 8 games left. I think we have the toughest run in of any team in the league with the highest positions we have to play against. So, Will, for you, 147 points. What's a good target to get to, which you'd be happy with? Or is it more just the quality of the performances?
I mean, I'd agree with you. It's like getting more than we got last season, 51. So aim for maybe, I think Liam will obviously want him to get like 60. At least, but 55 I think I'd maybe aim for. But I don't think it'll matter position-wise. I think we'll be about the same place we are now, regardless of how many points we get.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd aim for 55. It's usually 50 points is, usually 45, 50 is the absolute guarantee of staying up in this league, usually. So finish with points to spare on that, I'd be very happy.
Yeah, I think so. I think 55 is probably reasonable, but it's going to be tough because of the teams we're playing. So
that's the thing.
Yeah, you want to aim at like at least a point a game, don't you, for the remainder of the season?
Yeah.
As an average. So what's that? 9 games left, something like that. So 55, 56 points. Just to show obvious improvement on last season. And I know we've obviously got a better quality squad, and we've spent quite a bit more obviously than the team we had last season. But like we said, that first half of the season up to November, we're playing catch up for the rest of the year. So to actually finish on more points than last season would be an achievement in itself, considering we look destined for League One under Shotter. Rosinia's biggest test to come in was to make us defensively solid, and he's done that. The final piece of the jigsaw is just sorting out the scoring goals. We just can't seem to crack how to score more than one goal lately. So. But that'll come obviously with a good full pre-season and hopefully a lot less injuries next year. We should see a lot better. So yeah, I would, improvement on last season. You're looking at 55 points onwards. Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, I think that's probably quite a reasonable suggestion. We're not going to touch on it too much, but a few weeks ago we were talking about Acyn perhaps buying Dundalk FC in Ireland to send a few players over to develop. It seems that maybe Dundalk, is too expensive, so perhaps Acyn is going to go sign or buy Shelbourne FC instead. They're a much smaller club, I know, because I checked, they're usually in the second division of Ireland, but have just been promoted to the first division and stayed up last season in 7th out of 10 spots. So it's not a very busy league really. There's only 10 teams, but I mean, I don't think there's much to talk about that because it's not been confirmed. I think just reiterating that it would be kind of cool, I guess, and helpful. But
it's just a loophole around Brexit transfer regulations, and that it's just a way to bring in players from abroad into the actual UK, because Ireland is obviously here but not part of the United Kingdom. So
it's not the United Kingdom, but it's got easier restrictions than the rest of Europe.
Yeah. So, of course, that's been in the news for ages since what do they call it in Brexit? The back thing. I can't remember.
I don't want to talk about Brexit.
Well, it's not then. But perhaps Uriel Celli, the Peruvian wonder kid that we signed, will perhaps go and tear up the Irish league in a year or two, and then he can come and play for us. That'd be nice. So yeah, well, we've mentioned it a few times, but the report of the financial side of things came out for last season. Apparently we made 14 million profit. And you were talking about some weird loan thing. Do you want to quickly explain what you know about that?
There's not much to explain because I'm not going to pretend to understand the financial side of football at all. I would recommend going to Kieran Maguire's Twitter feed if you want to see a more accurate representation of it. But apparently, obviously, we made 14 million for the 21-22 season, and that includes obviously Acyn writing off the 20 million pound loan to the Lambs and player sales. So I would assume, because the thing is that I don't actually know if the loans are part of FFP, so I don't know. I mean, that's not mentioned in it, but it would be interesting to see, obviously, because it's only just come out before we started this, so I've not been able to read any further comments that he puts underneath. So, yeah, I'll have a look at that, because this season's, I think, will be really interesting when they come out to see what we spent on with free travel and increased wage budget. And then you obviously got the flip side where we sold Keane Lewis Potter, but we've got increased match tickets. And, you know, it's always a side of football that is quite complicated, but thankfully you've got people like Kieran Maguire that can, you know, explain it in a bit of layman's terms for us.
Yeah, that's the thing with last season's accounts is obviously because of the takeover, it's very weird to read. It'll be nice to see this season's when we've had a whole season under Adjun, but we won't do that for another year, pretty much. That's the problem.
Yeah, who knows where we'll be by then? Could be literally anywhere in the table, and you know, still in either the Premier League or League One. We don't know, although I think that's extremely unlikely. So looking ahead to the Rotherham game, a few injury things to talk about firsthand. Unfortunately, Aaron Connolly won't be back fit for the Rotherham game. Initially, it was touted that apparently he was going to be able to play a few weeks ago. But yeah, he's been we talked about him. He brings such energy and that aggression. He's helped to get the best out of Oscar in those few games. So hopefully back for the last 7 games of the season. Ryan Woods and Matt Ingram are back, although I'm not sure either of them.
I don't think either of them will be involved.
No, and Pelkas, poor guy, he's had food poisoning and has been in hospital. So best wishes to Dimitros Pelkas. He's had a very unfortunate season, because when he's played, he's been okay, but he's never really had enough of a run of games before getting injured or being struck down with food poisoning again. So, I mean, I'm not sure even if he has. Well, I guess if he has a great last few games, maybe we would want to sign him on a permanent. But I think Rossini has talked about wanting players that are always fit, and I don't think he's ever going to be able to do that.
I don't think we're going to see him after this season. I think he's going to stay.
Probably similar to Cynic and Tufan, who's actually played relatively well recently, but more of a Fenerbahce sort of fan sort of marketing ploy rather than a sign that we're really hoping was going to work. But hopefully, if we look this time next year and we see that Adjun's made lots of money off Pelkas Helsinki shirts in Turkey, then I guess it have worked out. And we wouldn't have even needed to sign him on a permanent deal. So the major thing to talk about with the Rotherham game is a sellout crowd. Although, Will, you want to be a pedant for a moment?
It's not a sellout yet.
No, but it almost is. Mind you, it has been a sellout at times, hasn't it? Because they have to keep opening new tickets.
Well, no, because the West Up has been open the entire time and it's never sold out yet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I suppose that's true. But I'm going to be in the West Upper stand. I'm very looking forward to it. So how do we see the game going on Saturday against a team in 20th and a 21st in the away league table?
So it's one of those games, isn't it?
It is.
It's the thing is, it's another one on paper where we should, especially at home now with the flipped form that we've had lately. What is it? 4 clean sheets in the last 5, and the 5th was obviously the Burnley game, which if you could keep a clean sheet against Burnley, you've done phenomenally well. So we've been strong defensively. The Rotherham have that many attacking talents that would threaten us at the minute. I would look at them and say no. We've got ample attacking talent, so obviously it'll be 2-0 Rotherham. The problem is, isn't it? It's a team that's down, fighting to stay in the division, and it's typical City.
You're saying they haven't got any attacking talents. They've got up front the absolute legend, the jungle cat that is Tom Eaves.
He don't start.
Well, let's talk about...
The Rotherham fans hate him.
The man is only 20 goals off his 20-goal record target for this season.
Prediction of the season, yeah.
For audio listeners, we've now got Tom Eaves photoshopped on a traditional image of Jesus. Yeah. I mean, I assume both fans, or maybe just whole fans actually, are going to be shouting Eaves every time he gets near the ball, even if he gets on
pitch. Only if we're 5-0 up and he comes on.
Yeah, but I think I'd do it even if it was 0-0 because, he's a cult hero.
Yeah, because then he'd full well,
Rotherham will win 1-0 and it'll be Tom Eaves' header in the 88th minute.
Yeah, probably. Although he never seems to score, goals or headers. So, really, I'm not sure that that's going to be that much of an issue. And I think the other striker they've got, Connor Washington, is the lowest rated striker.
They've got Dougal, haven't they?
Yeah, he's got a few. He scored a few the other week against QPR, I think.
So that ruins your argument there.
I mean, the thing is,
he scored 2 whole season. It's really not that good. That is 2 more than he's 18 closer to the target Tommy has set himself. But we can't be too mean for him to be optimistic, right?
I agree with Anne, to be fair. I think it's one of those games where we should smash him, and it'll be a tricky game because they'll probably likely sit back like most teams do when they've come here in recent times, and will struggle to break them down.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously the reason the Belly game was so good is because they were open and they play a similar way to how we want to play, and it allowed us to be open as well.
Yeah, Alex has said he scored a hat-trick against Rotherham.
The only one he scored for us.
I think he's got like 4 or 5 goals at Rotherham Stadium, but none of them have been for Rotherham, which is really depressing for him. So that's not really worked out.
It's the kind of game that you hate, that managers would hate. Towards the end of the season when you've got sides that are fighting for the lives at the bottom or fighting to go, they're the teams you don't want to play, and Rotherham are unfortunately one of those that have got something to try and fight for.
All right. I think.
You look at the bottom, but the results are weird, aren't they? Like Wigan's improved. Now they've got the point deduction, so they're near enough out of it. Then you've got Huddersfield that is Warnock, so you don't know. He might pull off a miracle in the last few games.
I hope it's QPR.
QPR are falling like a brick, like we did. They're all fighting for their lives, aren't they? And if we play similar to what we did at Reading, you open yourselves up to a defeat. Because you've got to take this game as you would, earlier on in the season, as though we were trying to fight to get into the top 6. You've got to go into this now with effort and endeavour. And if you don't, then Rotherham players will, win that physical battle and make it difficult for us. Think about Barnsley. It's a very similar situation to Barnsley last season, where we did cheaper tickets. Loads of fans came in. A team below us that were really, really struggling, and then they came over and turned us over 2-0. We played absolutely terrible. It's just one of those occasions that as a City fan, you're just naturally worried about. But if we play to, how we should and know we can play, then we could bury them. So
hopefully it's like the away game was, hopefully, to an extent.
And Ryan Longman scores. I'd love that. Yeah, because we played really good football there. Well, I'm sure you'd like it if he did score, rather than he scored than no one, right?
I enjoyed that game very much because it finally broke my betting of Grieve scoring first, and I got many pounds for that.
Of course, and that's the 3rd time, isn't it? Hasn't Grieve scored first 4 times this season? Yeah, so he's made. They've made lots of money. Yeah, but I guess
and diminishing returns after that point.
Yeah, it tends to Macca now. Macca's the next one.
Yeah, it's exactly. Macca or Jones who's normally the lowest scorer one now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, do we think we'll win? Because I think it might be a bit of a tight game, similar to, who was I talking about it? I guess Reading, that they're going to sit back. But it probably is going to be like a Blackpool or a Huddersfield or a Cardiff game where we perhaps just, can't break them down. So I might go 1-0, Ryan Longman goal, obviously. But, Ant, what do you think?
We're not scoring many goals lately, but we should be, right? I think the 2-week international break will have done them good. I think coming into this game, it was something that was probably needed because I think that the quick turnover of games didn't do us any favors in trying to, get any momentum. So, a lot more time on the training ground, a lot of players maybe work off some niggles they had and come into this game raring to go kind of thing. So I'm going to go 1-0 City.
Yeah, fair enough. I've gone 1-0. Will, are you going to go 3-0 like you have done the last few weeks?
Well, of course I am.
Wonderful.
You're wrong not to.
Longman
and
hat-trick?
of course, we've all. And I'm going to go for the. I think Oscar will get one, and I think it'll be. Malcolm will finally get one, and Cal Darlow.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, I think it's more likely that maybe Pelkas will score a beautiful diving header, leaping like a salmonella because of the food poisoning.
No.
If this was live, that'd be removed.
Oh.
I think now we've all predicted a win, guarantees a Rotherham win.
Yeah, probably. But something that we always guarantee at this sort of time of the episode is the combined lineup. So it's 10 Hull City players and Ogbene, who is a Rotherham winger, because I think wingers are always a problem position for us. I know we've had Slater, he's on the left wing. So it's basically just, I think, a standard or maybe the lineup for Reading plus Ogbene at right wing. He's got 7 goals from the wing this season. That's pretty good. Only Oscar's scored more than 7 goals this season for City, so I think can't be any complaints about that. But, Will, are you going to have any complaints anyway?
I want to.
Go on then. What's wrong?
I can't.
You can't?
This might be the first time where your 11 is actually correct.
I don't know. You can make a case for Ebiway on the wing instead of Slater, maybe.
You can, but he scored a few goals as Albert, to be fair.
And Slater scored in the last match. So
from the central position.
Yeah, I don't
That's
think
the only issue I'd say is you're playing Slater at left wing and I don't like it.
No, I guess, but otherwise
like
it's a fan, maybe.
Because I think Ebiway of the last 3 or 4 games, since Burnley definitely has been our probably best player. He's looked very lively. He's desperate for a goal. He's desperate for a goal, isn't he?
But I'm not going to admit. I'm never going to admit to just forgetting that Ebiway existed. When I was making that, I would never admit to that. So I'm just gonna have to stick with the fact that I thought Regan Slater, he deserves
take accountability,
and he's got a few goals and assists, so he's done all right. And Ebiway, he's just played well in 2 games maybe. So, I think Ogbene probably deserves to be in there instead. I guess we can mention, as Ant's wearing his England shirt, we can mention that England had a pretty much perfect international break. I guess 75% of the performances over, of the halves. We had an awful second half against Italy, conceded. Maguire made a few mistakes, which is of course, he used to play for City, so it's never really pleasant for me to see. I want him to do well, but not much to talk about. Just a solid win against Italy and Ukraine. Will, you had sort of mixed emotions about the win against Ukraine, didn't you?
Not really. I was happy with one. I just wanted to wear a Ukraine shirt to wind people up.
Yeah, well, it certainly winds me up because I always want England to win.
That was the main point of it.
Yeah, I guess if England, if Sweden had to beat England in the World Cup or something, so they got through, but England were already qualified, I guess I'd be happy with that because I like Sweden as well. But that's probably got less justification than Ukraine.
There was one thing I got quite annoyed after the Italy game because I was a bit upset with how negative England were, but they were, even though they were a bit more, they were good defensively. They were very good defensively. The only time Italy actually broke through them was the error that was made, which feels very Hull City at the moment.
Yes.
In that the Burnley game, for example, all 3 of their goals came from us cocking up, and they didn't really create much outside of that.
Yeah, I think it was 2 very solid performances, except perhaps some of the second half we didn't really attack against Italy, but it's been...
Though Jack Grealish missed the worst sitter I've seen in a while, and it should have been 3-0 at half-time and out of sight.
Well, on the commentary, they tried to say that was a difficult chance. I haven't seen it back, but
It
looked pretty
wasn't.
easy to
It was
me.
an open
I'd have
goal from
scored
like
that.
6 yards out.
Yeah, it was on the volley, I guess, but could have smashed that in easily. So,
How much did he cost?
£100 million.
So he can't side foot a ball into an open net.
No, clearly not. Clearly not. I'm getting absolutely slaughtered in the comments with the combined lineup that Rotherham's keeper's statistically been the best in the league.
He has
Well, he
actually.
plays
I
for
forgot
Rotherham.
about that.
He
You're
plays for
right.
Rotherham, so I can't include him. Darlow's definitely better because he plays for us. And then Alex
No,
Lancaster.
they're completely right. What are you doing? Stop doing it now.
Alex has pointed out that I like Sweden and Johansson's Swedish, the Rotherham goalkeeper, but didn't include him. But I like Darlow. Darlow's good. Darlow in the middle of our goal. It's a good chant and all
That's
that.
not even a chant.
What is it then?
I'm not going to do it.
Oh, cool.
I'll tag you in it.
Tag me in it later then. But I don't think there's much else to talk about. Hopefully we come back after a fantastic win against Rotherham, a few goals, another clean sheet, and we can move on and have a bit more positive end to the season, because I know is it 1 win in 8 now? It'd be nice to have a few more in the next 8. So I don't think there's anything else to mention. Thanks again for listening and commenting, and that's goodbye from... Oh, and do you have something? Go on.
Yeah, so obviously we did the Hair Game 2 episode the other day, which was recorded. It wasn't live. We will post that on I would say Sunday, Monday time-ish.
I'll try and get it up on Sunday dinner time-ish.
Yeah, so if there are any women watching or guys, obviously, that might want to listen to it, it's just basically going to be Kirst, who is one of the advocates for Hair Game 2 at City. Former Spurs ambassador for him as well, but she's just going to basically do lots of different episodes which are planned based on all different aspects of the campaign, and some will feature people from women that attend games, some might have footballers on, some we might try and get obviously a couple of the City reps on and just chat about various things. Keep your eyes on them ones because they'll be good episodes. And we also have an update on the website now, so obviously we've got a big update in terms of it should actually go live next month. So keep your eyes out for obviously written content and things like that. And we are still looking for people if you want to get involved. So if you want to try your hand at writing some City content, football content, anything like that to do with, blog style entries, match reports, anything like that, just get in touch with us and we'll see if we can sort you out.
Okay, well, very well said. You've saved me there, Ant. Thanks again for listening, and we'll be back again next week.